Are you ready? Are you ready for the news time? Probably. My name is Phil Chambers. Welcome to the Saturday News, and I am here with Gareth Morgan. Is he over this side somewhere? But before we get going, there are a whole bunch of stories today, and they are in timestamps in the description below, so click on them to go to the stories that you want to hear, and make sure to like the video and subscribe to the video. But Gareth, what have you got for us today?
Some SmackDown stuff to talk about, because loads of stuff happened on last night's SmackDown, so let's just jump straight into it. Let's just talk about it. So we've got a new Intercontinental champion. That's the big story. That's the huge takeaway. If you haven't seen it already, just stop what you're doing. Just stop what you're doing right now and go and watch AJ Styles versus
Not right
SmackDown.
now.
Not right now.
Watch this video first. After this video.
After that. Or just have them on at the same time. I'm quite happy.
Yeah, that'll work.
It's one of my favourite matches I've seen in quite some time, especially in an arena with no people in it. It was just spectacular. Loved it.
Yep.
But we'll talk about that in the SmackDown review, so be sure to check that out, the podcast later on today. And also we had the New Day. They went up against Nakamura and Cesaro in a non-title match. The New Day took a knee before that as well and raised a fist. Obviously this was a show of solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement. And they lost that match, so that was a big shock. It was another screwy finish, bit of a roll-up, which, you know, is what it is on SmackDown these days. You have Bayley and Sasha turned up, and they had a bit of shenanigans with Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross and the Iconics, and that's further in that feud that's going to happen. Obviously, that big match on Sunday. And I think the big one I want to talk about is Jeff Hardy threw his own...
He threw wee!
Yeah, I didn't know how to get that out, really, but yeah, that's... It was weird. I nearly spat out my cereal this morning watching that. That was, yeah. It looked like a pint of ale. I think that's what did me in the most. I was a bit like, there goes my nice pint after work. That's just not happening. No, it's, yeah, it was weird. It was very strange. But yeah, that happened. And then we had Heavy Machinery and Braun Strowman beat Miz Morrison and Dolph Ziggler. And yeah, Otis ran off to go and beat off Baron Corbin at one point in the match, just because he can, really. He just needs to be everywhere. And yeah, I thought it was a decent SmackDown, but it was bookended by a really weird throwing urine moment and Otis running off killing a king. It was very strange.
Yeah, this Jeff Hardy stuff isn't really clicking for me yet, but AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan. Come on now. Go watch it after this video. Seriously, it is that good. Anyway, moving on to the next story. A bit more of an update about Paul Heyman stepping down from his position as lead writer of Raw, and Bruce Pritchard taking over both SmackDown and Raw. There's a whole bunch of people have been chiming up on this since we reported on it yesterday. The main one, I guess, Sports Illustrated have been saying that it wasn't really because of one specific moment or thing that Heyman did, but more of just a difference in philosophy in general, which we've kind of been speculating anyway. And that while Heyman kind of understands what the fans want more, it's Pritchard that understands what Vince wants and how to pitch creative ideas to Vince McMahon. But there is a lot of word on sort of some of the Paul Heyman projects on Raw that they're a bit worried about their position now and what's going to be happening in the future. Guys like Apollo Crews, Aleister Black, Andrade, all just big Paul Heyman projects, because he's been trying to push newer talent and get them a bit higher up the roster. He said originally that it was going to be like a 18-month plan or something like that to sort of redevelop the Raw roster, but then obviously the whole global thing kicked in and ratings plummeted and shock reactions are abound. The Wrestling Observer said that I am shocked it took this long. Everyone knew it was coming. Vince did not like Paul. So there's that. Eric Bischoff has been chiming up on his after 83 weeks show. He said that he felt like Heyman needed congratulating after being fired. So that's obviously Eric Bischoff's view on this. He also said that he was going to send Bruce Pritchard a text that says congratulations, but with a question mark.
I like that.
And Sportskeeda have been saying that Vince McMahon was sort of disappointed that Heyman hadn't done more with AJ Styles backstage, and that AJ Styles didn't necessarily see eye to eye with people on Raw. Obviously, he had the great stuff with The Undertaker and a very prominent position at WrestleMania, but outside of that, he was kind of wallowing in US title territory, and he didn't have a lot to sink his teeth into in Raw. But apparently he's a lot happier over on SmackDown. Obviously, he's just won the IC Championship and he got immediately put into a massive storyline with Daniel Bryan. So what can you hate about that? So it seems like, it's lots of little things going on that have led to this. But let's hope that some of the guys that Heyman's been pushing and been fighting for recently don't get lost in the shuffle as soon as this kicks in.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway. You can say what you want about Raw recently. It's been, I don't know, you want to call it sports entertainment. It's probably been veering towards that side of things more than the wrestling product that we've enjoyed, let's say, on SmackDown recently, especially. But one of the big parts of Raw that have actually, in my opinion, they've been quite successful at is bringing in these new stars and just giving them a constant position on television, whether they've been doing terrible hokey stuff or actually been in decent wrestling matches. We've seen guys like Apollo Crews, or we've seen guys like Austin Theory popping up and like getting
Angel Garza as well.
Angel Garza, people getting TV time that wouldn't necessarily get it, or at least wouldn't be pushed to a certain extent. They'd probably be there as cannon fodder. Like, I feel like he needs to be patted on the back for that, but it's a ratings game. It's a business at the end of the day, and we know what Vince is like. I think there was that talk yesterday about him completely changing his point of view now on wrestling in general, his company. He was obviously building towards the future at one point. Now with what's going on, the current global situation, he's suddenly doubled down on just saying, no, we need to make sure everything's fine now. We need ratings now, and it's all very much the immediate future that he's focused on, which is going to help them for a short period of time. But once we get out of the other side of this, is he going to be in a bigger mess, and then we're going to get a whole new sweeping hiring of people and firing? It's just a constant cycle of hiring, firing. WWE right now, isn't it?
It is indeed. Hopefully things settle down, I guess. Bruce Pritchard obviously knows how to talk to Vince McMahon, but whether that corresponds into a better show, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Well, we will. But another thing that's been affected by the current global situation recently was something that was pitched and apparently was set to hit this summer, and that's a Queen of the Ring tournament. So that's pretty cool, because obviously there's been a lot of talk of this. We've had the Mae Young Classics over the last couple of years, and we wanted to see, a lot of people said we wanted to see this type of tournament, but with the women on the main roster. And apparently WWE completely nixed plans. There were rumours of this. They were nixing the plans for a 2020 Mae Young Classic, but now it's been announced by Wrestling Inc. that those rumours were incorrect. There was never plans to do a Mae Young Classic in 2020, but there were plans to do this Queen of the Ring tournament instead. But now Wrestling Observer have said, I think they said today or yesterday, they said that the plans were to have it this summer, but obviously they've been nixed again because of the current global situation. So it's just a shame. It feels like every time we're getting quite close to this happening, there were rumours of it being almost like a follow-up to Evolution at one point, having potentially a pay-per-view built around the Queen of the Ring. It feels like every time we're getting close to having this event happen, something gets in the way, which is just a massive shame, because look at the talent that you've got on that roster right now. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it, but it would look like Charlotte Flair would just have another reason to win that, and she'd be the Queen of the Ring, and she'd be the Queen who's the Queen of the... I get it, but I think it'd be a perfect chance to see some of the people on that roster that aren't given any spotlight. Your likes of Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, people who are just not used very well. Just give them a bit of a showcase. I think it'd be a great idea going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I do love a good tournament, and it immediately gives loads of people something to do. And especially if you built it around a pay-per-view of its own as well. I really like that as an idea, because I really like back when they were doing King of the Rings in like early 2000s and late 90s, when it was like you had people wrestle like up to 3 times on one pay-per-view. And it was just ended up being a really good show. Like you could tell the good story of like someone getting injured in the first match, but then they had to fight through to the end and things. It was really good. And yeah, it's really easy to write a good tournament. Like it just takes up loads of TV time. It's just, and especially like now with everything that's going on, they need something to take up TV time. Like this IC title tournament has been brilliant for that. So yeah, a shame that they won't be doing something like that as well. But also speaking of Charlotte, which let's face it, would probably be the one to win it, the Wrestling Observer was also saying that she has lost her NXT Championship because they wanted to move the belt off her, but they also wanted to keep her as a superior talent. So that's why they kind of did the finish with Io Shirai and I've completely forgotten her name.
Rhea Ripley, she's there.
Rhea Ripley.
It happens.
I was going to say Shayna Baszler. I was like, no, it's not. What happened there? And within the company with Becky Lynch now gone, they're definitely seeing Charlotte Flair as that top female talent in the company. And they want to keep her there, which is quite obvious by the way they're using her on TV. I
mean, it's worrying because I just don't want Asuka to lose that belt. Keep it on her. She's brilliant. Yes. She's been the MVP of this no crowd era, and she just deserves a nice run with that belt. I mean, I'm all here for Charlotte against Asuka in a nice little feud and have a few matches because they're brilliant together. But just leave the belt. It looks so good on her. Leave it.
It does. Should we quickfire the rest of this news? We've got a lot to go through.
Yes, we should. We've got WWE's original plans for Jinder, Mahal, and Drew McIntyre. We spoke about this a couple of weeks ago now. And they, apparently, the Wrestling Observer newsletter reported that there was talk of doing the match due to a lack of top heels at that point, which is no surprise, really, in Raw right now. They just haven't really had a lot of top heels to work with. We have got Bobby Lashley in there now, though. He's going to be fighting against Drew at Backlash. And the idea was to have this, obviously, allude to the fact that they were partners in the past. And Mahal, there was no long-term plan for this feud either. So it was just going to be a short-term thing, probably leading up to Backlash, and then that would have been it. He probably would have moved on to his next rival. So yeah, that's in terms of the actual feud itself. But then Jinder's knee surgery, we've also had a bit more information on that. That was originally set to be a minor surgery, but it obviously turned out to be quite major, more significant than expected. That was only after they started to uncover the knee and figure out what was wrong with it. So that, again, didn't exactly go according to plan for Jinder, and there's no word yet on when he will be back in action.
Yep, sad times for Jinder, terrible timing, obviously, but I do like this idea of Drew McIntyre just having, like, feud after feud after feud, like 1 month long feuds and just going through a bunch of people. I think it's really good, good fun, entertaining, means you don't really get bored of one feud. And until you've got someone that you can really sink your teeth into for a feud with Drew, I think that's just a great way of doing it. Keep Drew strong. Ring of Honor, moving on. It's the Wrestling Observer again. They've been saying that Ring of Honor are working on a plan to come back with empty arena shows. They've been looking at different safety protocols and testing options that they can do. They've obviously had an hour of their TV show to fill each week. They've been doing that by putting out 1 hour profiles on each one of their talents as they're going forward, which I think is a really good idea, to be fair. And all the talents from Ring of Honor have said that they've been absolutely great through this whole global situation thing. We have an interview with Joe Hendry, which you can click on. I'll put a link or something in the top corner, where he was saying about how great Ring of Honor have been throughout it all. They shut them down, but kept them on full pay, and they've been really good to their talents over this. So be good to see Ring of Honor getting back into it. When it's going to happen, we have absolutely no idea. Where it's going to happen, we have absolutely no idea. But let's face it, it's probably going to be in Florida because Florida. I mean, yeah, it's either that or I think Vegas have become quite. They've relaxed the laws a little bit because UFC have gone back to the Apex there in Vegas. But there was also talk of Maryland. Obviously, that's their spiritual home state. But they're quite strict with their policies right now in regards to the current global situation. So that one's still not a guarantee. Uncertain times, but at least we're going in a bit more of a positive direction with Ring of Honor. Also, we've got a bit of news coming out of People Magazine, I guess. Not often we talk about People Magazine on this news, but we are today. WWE NXT superstar Jake Atlas, a story featuring his coming out story has been featured in People Magazine. He announced this on Twitter. He said, "I'm excited to share that my coming out story is featured in People Magazine's The Pride issue 2020 this week, out on newsstands today." It also noted, the story itself noted that Atlas became the first openly gay male in pro wrestling, which isn't really true because obviously there was Darren Young before that. That's the first one. Definitely not true. Many others.
Exactly. That's what I mean. So it was one of them where red lights went off straight away. For me, I was just like Darren Young straight away, just pinged up in my mind.
Yeah.
It was also noted that he came out professionally via Twitter, and he called it his way of going in head first. He also said that he doesn't want to be known as the gay wrestler. You're not going to watch me because I'm gay. That's what he said. So he obviously just wants to be viewed and judged on his work, not his sexuality and everything else, which is perfectly valid. If he wants to go and just be a wrestler and just be judged on that, then yeah, everyone has the right to do that. Totally. He also competed in the NXT Cruiserweight title tournament recently as well, and he had quite a good showing in that. That's a bit of news from People Magazine. Yeah, good stuff. Weird that they're pitching him as the first openly gay wrestler. Yeah. Definitely not true. I can't understand what the thinking is behind that. That seems like a really odd thing to try and grab a headline. Just do your research before you put it. Maybe they meant first openly gay in WWE, but then just also completely forgot about Darren Young. No idea. You could have said NXT. You could have literally just said NXT. Yeah. I think he might be the first openly gay in NXT that I can think of. Maybe. Who knows? Vince Russo. There's been talks that he has been back with Impact, which are apparently not
true. Russo's denied it, and no one at Impact seems to have confirmed it, so it does look like it's not true. Meltzer has said on this that he's been hearing rumours for about a month. People at Impact who should know don't know, and people at the top have denied it to me. But that doesn't mean that it's 100% not true. And until someone says either evidentiary or like definitively that it's not true, that it is true, it's probably best to take it as not true. But Russo added a little bit more onto this story about the last time that he had a run with Impact. He tweeted out, he's saying, "Years ago, I was hired by TNA as a consultant. Part of the terms was to keep it quiet. I did that. I did what my employer asked me to do. When I accidentally sent an email to the wrong address." Good stuff.
As you do.
It came out. He was labelled as a liar for keeping the confidentiality of his employer that his employer asked him to. And then he also goes on to say that at the time I vowed myself never to allow myself to get into that situation again. The dirt sheets are stirring up that I'm consulting for TNA again. Hate to kill their false BS, but I'm not. And then he goes on about Russo brand being a full-time job, and he wouldn't trade it for the world. So it looks like any reports that you see of Vince Russo being back with Impact are not true.
Oh, there you go. It's straight from the horse's mouth. So
Indeed.
We've also got a bit of news on Chris DeJoseph. I can't even say his name. He was obviously released from WWE recently, and there was a lot of speculation about the reasons for this. A lot of people seem to think it was because of some comments that he made to executives. And it's now been pretty much clarified by the Wrestling Observer newsletter that DeJoseph was on a Zoom conference call with WWE Senior Vice President of Creative Services, Stan Stansky, best name ever, and WWE's Senior Vice President of E-Commerce and Venue Merchandise, Kevin Moore, when he got into a bit of trouble over the things that he said. There's been no word yet on exactly what he said, but apparently whatever he said really rubbed up Stansky and Moore the wrong way, and Vince found out about what he said and then made the decision to let him go. So his job's already been posted on a listing in early June, so WWE are already trying to replace him. So it doesn't look like there's going to be a U-turn anytime soon with this one, and he just returned to WWE in December, so it's a bit of a quick turnaround for DeJoseph.
A little bit, yeah, unfortunately. Hopefully WWE will hire Lenny Lennison and Carl Carlson anyway to take his position.
Just brilliant.
Anyway, finally today, we've got a little bit of news about RetroSoft, the Retromania wrestling game. Matt Cardona has been tweeting saying that he is going to be in Retromania Wrestling by RetroSoft Studio. It's basically the official sequel to the 1991 arcade hit WrestleFest, if you remember that. And by all... it just looks amazing, this game. I've seen a bunch of stuff from StarCast and WrestleCon. We've talked to the people about it. They are all really, really excited about this game. It's making its way to PC, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One at some point. Definitely recommend you check it out. It looks like it should be really, really good, fun arcade wrestling. It's also got Zack Sabre Jr., Jeff Cobb, Road Warrior Animal and Hawk, Colt Cabana, Blue Meanie, Tommy Dreamer, and a whole bunch more. Simon Miller was almost in it. He didn't quite get there, though. They did this big tournament thing on Twitter, and he lost to someone. I can't remember who he lost to.
Oh,
he almost got to the finals.
That'd have been so cool. His little dead slap. That'd have been sick. That's way before my time. I was minus 3 years old when that came out, so I can't confess that I've ever played it, but I'm in a rush to now. It seems like my kind of game.
It does look very good fun. And that is all of the wrestling news for today. We made it. We did it. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow me at PhilMyChambers, and you can follow Gareth.
Are they allowed to follow me today, Phil? Yeah? They can follow me?
Yeah, they can follow you this time. Yeah. You've been a good boy.
I've been a good egg. Okay. GMorgan04, you can follow me there.
And you can follow everyone at WhatCulture at WhatCulture WWE. Make sure to like the video, share the video, subscribe, and comment down below what you thought of all of today's stories. We have some big things coming on later on. We've got ups and downs, obviously, for SmackDown. Then there's going to be a SmackDown review podcast. And then there is a bit of an interview with Chris Jericho coming at 10 p.m. tonight. So make sure you look out for that on this very channel. And that's it. Thank you very much for joining us. Have yourselves a bloody good day.